My dream job vanished in a 5-minute phone call, because my old boss told them I was a thief. What he didn't know was that every word was being recorded. The phone rang at 2:14 p.m. I know the exact time because I had been staring at the clock for 4 hours, vibrating with an anxiety that felt like I had swallowed a swarm of bees. This was it. The call. The dream job. I had gone through 4 rounds of interviews. I had met the team. I had crushed the technical assessment. The hiring manager, a sharp woman named Sarah, had practically told me to start looking for apartments closer to their HQ. All that was left was the formality. The background check and the reference check. I picked up the phone on the first ring. My palms were sweating against the case. Hello. This is Mark. Hi, Mark. It's Sarah from Nexus Solutions. Her voice was different. Yesterday, it had been warm, enthusiastic, bordering on friendly. Today, it was ice. It was the voice of a person delivering a terminal diagnosis. Hey, Sarah, I said, my stomach doing a slow, sickening roll. Good to hear from you. Mark, I'm going to cut to the chase, she said. There was the sound of papers shuffling in the background. We are going to be rescinding our verbal offer of employment. The air left the room. I sat down heavily on my couch, my legs suddenly unable to support my weight. Rescinding? I choked out. Why? The background check. I have a clean record. I've never even had a speeding ticket. It wasn't the criminal record, Mark, Sarah said. Her tone was tight, professional, but there was an edge to it. A hint of fear. Disgust. It was the reference check. Specifically, the conversation we had this morning with your former direct supervisor, Mr. Gregory Stevens. Greg. I felt the blood drain from my face. I had listed HR as my contact for my previous employer. I knew Greg hated me. I knew he was a toxic, narcissistic tyrant who took my resignation as a personal insult. I had specifically told the recruiters to contact the HR department for verification of dates and titles only. You talked to Greg? I whispered. He is the director of your department, Sarah said. We needed to verify your performance. And frankly, Mark, after what he told us, we cannot bring you into this building. We have a zero-tolerance policy for theft and workplace violence. Theft. I stood up. Violence? Sarah, what are you talking about? Mr. Stevens informed us that you were terminated for cause, she recited, her voice trembling slightly. He stated that you were caught stealing petty cash on multiple occasions, and that when confronted, you became physically aggressive and threw a stapler at a subordinate. He described you as unstable and a liability. I gripped the phone so hard the screen protector cracked under my thumb. That is a lie, I said. My voice was low, guttural. That is a complete, total fabrication. I quit. I resigned with 2 weeks' notice. I have the email chain. I was the top performer in the Q4 cycle. I never stole a dime. I never raised my voice. He was very specific, Mark, Sarah said. He said, and I quote, I wouldn't hire him to walk my dog, unless I wanted the dog kicked and my wallet missing. Sarah, please, I was begging now, desperate. You have to believe me. He's retaliating because I left. He's vindictive. Check with HR, check my personnel file. There are no write-ups. No incidents. We trust our sources, Sarah said coldly. We can't take the risk. Good luck with your search. Wait. I shouted. Goodbye, Mark. Click. The line went dead. I stood there in the silence of my apartment, the phone buzzing with the dial tone. I felt like I had been shot. Not in the chest, but in the back. Greg hadn't just given me a bad reference, he had assassinated my character. He had accused me of crimes. Theft. Assault. He had nuked my career. I threw the phone. It hit the couch cushion and bounced onto the floor. I paced the room, my hands in my hair, pulling at the roots. He can't do this, I hissed. He can't just lie. But he could. He just did. And because references are usually off the record, hidden behind the veil of a private professional conversation, he thought he was safe. He thought it was his word against mine. But then, my phone buzzed again. I picked it up off the floor. It was a text. From a number I didn't recognize. Unknown, Mark, it's Sarah. Don't call me back on the work line. Call this number. Now. I stared at the screen. Sarah. The woman who just fired me before I was even hired. I dialed the number. Sarah. Mark, she whispered. She sounded like she was in her car. Listen to me. I had to do that. My boss was in the room. He heard the reference call on speaker. He ordered me to cut you loose. Sarah, it's not true, I said, my voice breaking. I swear to you. I know, she said. I froze. You know. I know Greg, she said. Not personally. But my cousin used to work at your old company. In accounting. She told me about him. She told me he's a monster who destroys anyone who tries to escape. Then why? I had to follow protocol, she interrupted. But Mark. I recorded the call. My heart skipped a beat. You recorded it? We record all reference checks for quality assurance, she said. But usually, we just delete them. I saved this one. I exported it to my personal cloud before I left the office. Why? Because what he did is illegal, Sarah said. Her voice was fierce now. It's defamation per se. He accused you of a crime. He maliciously lied to prevent you from getting employment. I can't hire you, Mark. My hands are tied by corporate. But I can give you the weapon to bury him. Send it to me, I breathed. Check your email. The personal one. And Mark. Get a lawyer. A mean one. I ran to my computer. I opened my email. There it was. An audio file attached to a blank message. Reference_check_m_miller.mp3. I plugged in my headphones. I clicked play. The audio started with the standard pleasantries. Sarah introducing herself. Greg sounding charming, that fake, oily charm he used on clients before he ripped them off. So, we're considering Mark for the senior analyst role, Sarah's voice said on the recording. We just wanted to verify his employment dates and ask a few questions about his performance. Oh, Mark, Greg sighed. It was a heavy, theatrical sigh. Look, I want to be honest with you. I prefer to keep things positive, but if you're asking me if I'd rehire him. Absolutely not. Under no circumstances. Can you elaborate? Sarah asked. Well, Greg lowered his voice, like he was sharing a secret. I don't want to ruin the kid's life, but you guys are a reputable firm. You deserve to know. Mark has impulse control issues. I gripped the edge of my desk. Impulse control. I was the guy who mediated disputes in the office. We had an incident, Greg continued, his voice gaining confidence as he spun the lie. About 2 months ago. Petty cash box. $500 went missing. Mark was the only one with the key that day. We didn't press charges because, well, I felt bad for him. He seemed desperate. Liar, I shouted at the screen. You gave the key to your nephew. And when I asked him about it, Greg chuckled darkly, he snapped. Started screaming. Threw a stapler across the room. Hit the wall about an inch from my head. It was terrifying, honestly. We had to have security escort him out. That's why he resigned. We let him resign to save face, but it was a termination for cause. I see, Sarah said. Her voice was professional, flat. That is very concerning. Thank you for your candor, Mr. Stevens. Save yourself the headache, Greg said breezily. He's dangerous. And lazy. Honestly, I think he was high half the time. Just a bad apple. The recording ended. I sat there, shaking. He had accused me of theft, assault, and drug use. In a 5-minute phone call, he had painted me as a violent addict. If this got out, if this went into a database, I would never work in this industry again. But he had made a mistake. A fatal mistake. He had lied about specific, verifiable facts. He said security escorted me out. He said I had the only key. He said there was a theft incident report. None of that existed. Because none of it happened. I picked up my phone. I didn't call Greg. I called Mike. Mike is my best friend from college. He's also a labor attorney who specializes in employment law. He's the kind of guy who wears 3-piece suits and smiles when people threaten him. Mike, I said. I need you. What's up? You get the job. No. Greg torched it. He told them I stole money and threw a stapler at him. He what? Mike's voice dropped. Did he say that in writing? Better, I said. I have it on tape. There was a silence on the other end. Then, I heard a sound I will cherish forever. I heard Mike crack his knuckles. Send it to me, Mike said. Right now. I emailed the file. 5 minutes later, Mike called me back. He was laughing. Mark, he said. This is beautiful. It's defamation per se. In the legal world, this is a slam dunk. He accused you of a crime involving moral turpitude in connection with your profession. We don't even have to prove you lost money, though you clearly did, because you lost the job offer. We can sue him for the words alone. And we can sue the company for vicarious liability because he was acting in his capacity as a director. I want to hurt him, Mike, I said. I want him gone. Oh, he's gone, Mike promised. We're going to draft a demand letter. But we aren't sending it to Greg. We're sending it to the general counsel of your old company. And the head of HR. And the CEO. What are we asking for? We're asking for a settlement, Mike said. Lost wages. Emotional distress. Punitive damages for malicious defamation. And we're demanding a public retraction and a neutral reference letter. Do it. Mike worked through the night. The letter he drafted was a weapon of mass destruction. It cited the timestamps of the recording. It cited the specific lies. It attached a copy of my glowing performance review from 3 months ago, signed by Greg himself, which directly contradicted his claims of me being lazy and bad. It also attached a copy of the security logs from my last day, showing I badged out normally at 5 p.m., alone, without a security escort. Evidence Item A, audio recording of reference call. Evidence Item B, security logs proving no escort. Evidence Item C, previous performance review praising calm demeanor. We sent it at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. February 4th. I sat in my apartment, staring at my inbox. At 10:15 a.m., Mike called me. They responded, he said. Already? The general counsel called me personally, Mike said. He sounded unwell. He asked if we would be willing to hold off on filing the lawsuit in civil court if they agreed to immediate mediation. Mediation? They want to pay you to go away, Mark. They listened to the tape. They know Greg lied. They know if a jury hears that tape, they're looking at a 7-figure verdict. They want to settle. What about Greg? I asked. Hold on, Mike said. I'm getting a text from their lawyer right now. Oh. Wow. What? Greg is currently in a meeting with HR and legal. They suspended him pending an investigation. But based on what the lawyer just hinted, he's not coming back. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. But it wasn't enough. I want them to admit it, I said. I want a written statement saying he lied. We'll get it, Mike said. 2 days later, I was sitting in a conference room in a high-rise downtown. Not my old office. A neutral site. Across the table sat the general counsel of my old company, a woman named Linda who looked like she hadn't slept in a week. Next to her was the VP of HR. Greg was not there. Mr. Miller, Linda said, sliding a folder across the table. First, let me express our deepest apologies. The statements made by Mr. Stevens were unauthorized, inaccurate, and completely violate our company code of conduct. I opened the folder. Inside was a check. $75,000. It was a year's salary. This is for the lost opportunity, Linda said. And for the distress. Next to the check was a letter. A formal letter of recommendation, signed by the CEO, stating that I was an exemplary employee who left on good terms and was eligible for rehire. And Mr. Stevens? Mike asked, leaning back in his chair. Mr. Stevens is no longer with the organization, the HR VP said tight-lipped. He was terminated for gross misconduct effective yesterday. We also discovered some irregularities in the petty cash fund he mentioned. It seems he was projecting. I laughed. I couldn't help it. He stole the money. We are pursuing our own legal action against him, Linda confirmed. He won't be giving references for anyone, ever again. I signed the settlement. I took the check. But there was one loose end. Nexus Solutions. The dream job. I called Sarah. Hey, I said. It's Mark. Mark, she sounded cautious. I can't really talk to you. I have something to send you, I said. Check your email. I sent her the letter of recommendation from the CEO. The one that cleared my name. And I sent her a redacted copy of the settlement agreement which stated that the previous reference was false and malicious. Read it, I said. Silence. Then, a gasp. He lied about everything, Sarah whispered. Even the theft. Especially the theft. He was the thief. Mark, Sarah said. Hold on. Let me talk to my boss. Let me show him this. 10 minutes later, she called back. Can you start Monday? She asked. I thought the position was closed, I said, playing hard to get. We reopened it, she laughed. My boss, he hates liars. He listened to the tape again. Then he read your CEO's letter. He said, get that guy in here. If he can take down a corrupt director in 48 hours, I want him on my team. I'll see you Monday, I said. I started the job yesterday. It's amazing. The pay is better. The people are sane. And Greg? I looked him up on LinkedIn last night. His profile photo is gone. His status is open to work. I heard from a friend at the old place that he's facing criminal charges for the embezzlement. The petty cash was just the tip of the iceberg. He tried to bury me. He tried to destroy my life because his ego couldn't handle me quitting. He forgot that in the digital age, nothing disappears. Words have weight. And when you lie on a recorded line, those words become bricks. He built a wall to keep me out. I just used those bricks to build a new house. So, tell me. Am I the monster for recording a private call and costing a man his career, or did he simply talk himself out of a job?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.